So good afternoon, everybody. I extend my heartiest welcome to you all on behalf of the organizing team to this national webinar. And since the morning, we have been able to pull off both the sessions of invited talks and paper presentation very well with the undying efforts of Subudhi sir and Shikant sir and of course the whole team. And I also thank all the participants to have taken out their valuable time and attended this session. Let me introduce all to the panelists here. We have Professor Anil Bajpai, our former director of KIT School of Management, who is chair and moderator of this panel discussion. We have our faculty members, Professor Sumita Mishra and Professor Joydeep Biswas with us as teacher panelists. We also have Mr. Saibal Sinha, who is our alumnus and is currently a senior manager at TCS. We also have Ms. Astha Karki, Mr. Omar Farooq, and Ms. Dharitri as our scholar panelists. And lastly, we have our students panelists who are Ms. Kumari Yamini, Ms. Abantika Sasmal, and myself, Shraddha Mahapatra. So I'll hand over to Professor Anil Bajpai to kindly get started with the discussion.
All right, thank you, Shraddha. And I will again formally thank Professor Subudhi and all the students and the faculty and participants of this panel discussion today to have made time to come and discuss on this extremely important topic today. And as we see that what was considered to be something untouchable, whenever I mentioned let's do a video chat or let's do a telephone call, sir, I jata hu main, let's physically meet. That used to be the normal for the last 3 decades of my existence, 4 decades of my existence in the corporate world. Suddenly today people are fighting shy. I mean, I'll share with you. I've been talking to the Big Four, the BCG, the EY, the McKinsey people, and who have you for helping me out in my new venture that I'm doing for this university in Indore. And can you believe this? Here I am ready to travel. I am happy to travel to Delhi or Bangalore from Bhopal or Indore whenever required. And can you actually believe that the EY team tells me, no sir, please don't come. Why? We are under instructions to work from home, and we shall work from home till the end of September and wait for further instructions. Now when this happens, now this tells me that this is the new normal. This is something that we have acquired. I find KIT University, it has not only taken classes online for almost the entire half the semester. You've conducted proctored examinations for the entire 30,000 odd students. You have given results, and people have kind of. I'm sure you're not very happy. The people who are leaving like Yamini without a farewell dinner. But never mind, it will happen someday. So let's begin this discussion in a manner that I would ask all of us to share views in a minute or two, and then we will go on to establish the next steps, the future, and see how the new normal will stay. Or like everything else that happens in our country and the planet, we will fall back very soon once things go back to being normal and without the virus lurking behind our backs. So let's do a debate and let's look at this. So what will I do is I will get started with the faculty group first, because they have and I share their plight. They have suffered the most. They have been through the transition in the most difficult manner, looking at various aspects of having to prepare for classes, prepare for exams, invigilate you, and of course attend directors' meetings and all that stuff. which comes with the job. So let me ask Shraddha to not Shraddha. Let me ask Sumita ma'am to give her initial opening remarks on the topic that we are discussing today.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible to all?
Yes, Sumita.
Thank you, thank you. Actually, to start off, I think, this phrase, the new normal, has also become old. We've been hearing this since a long time now. But to, answer your question, sir, it's actually been, some very difficult days initially when we were just catapulted from the physical classroom to a virtual room. So it was very difficult for us. And initially, when I started, I still remember calling the technical assistant in my room for my first class, which was on the Zoom, and it was quite exciting then because I was doing it for the first time, so I wanted to learn. But then, I had a lot of questions in my mind that how is this going to happen? How would I do the same very things that I was doing in my physical classroom where I was asking questions, and I was with them in the same space. That was one. And then came the examinations. I think that created more worry than the classes. When we had our first demo exam, I think all of us were very worried that how is it going to take place? And the best part of it was because it was a demo, the students and the faculty learned together in the same platform. So that way, I think one takeaway for me has been from all of this experience that yes, it was difficult, but initially I don't know why we thought that it would be undoable. This FaceTime talk, this VR rooms, these are not meant for me. I've got no idea why we thought so, but now it's the only norm, the only way in which we are sane and we are connected with one and all. And the other is one huge learning, I think, for all of us. Joydeep is also here. Perhaps he would, share my views on this. That earlier in a classroom, a lot of knowledge was there in our minds. There in our minds, meaning my mind and the student's mind. And it was hardly coming out in a written, codified, explicit form. So after the class is over, then it disappears. You can't afford to do that in a virtual room. If you want to share something, it has to be there, it has to be in writing, and it has to be given to the students. If they want to ask a question, that is also there. It's for all times to see. Your lectures, which can be pre-recorded, which can be shared with them, they can view it time and again. I think, it has been a tremendous takeaway, both the strengths and the weaknesses.
No, I completely agree with you, and I would like to bring a little bit of historical perspective to this whole thing, and it is nostalgic in a sense. This is in the month of December 1998. December 1998. I think it was Sushma Swaraj who was the Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Telecom Minister, and I was at that time heading a region in Madhya Pradesh for Airtel. We did we went from ISDN lines and the other formats of communication to something called video conferencing. And would you believe this? At 128 kbps, Shoibal, please, comment on this. This is an amazing story. 128 kbps, and I had connected up Gwalior to New Delhi Parliament House, where we were, connecting Sunil Mittal to Sushma Swaraj, and the speech and video did just not match. I mean, I'd say something and walk away, and the voice would come much later, or the video would come much later. From those days, from 128 kbps speeds of transmission we come to what currently you have experienced, and it's like real-time stuff. There is no lag. We don't have any missing. So please bear in mind that there are these COVID warriors who are not policemen, who are not doctors, who are those silent workers who are making this possible, because of whom we are able to conduct this panel discussion. Those people who have actually helped in developing technology to such a level that in the first few days, you remember when we did a Zoom and there was a tirade against Zoom. Chinese hai, data loss ho jayega, you'll have all sorts of problems. Drop Zoom, go to web, go to some other WeChat or something like that. And eventually you found that Zoom has grown 300 times, not only in its share price, but its usage, and everyone is very happy with it. It's the most user-friendly platform for conducting meetings on the virtual world. Today, it appears that we can't work without Zoom. And all the owners have realized that it is a huge cost-saving device. This new normal will probably become something that will be there for life. Joydeep, let's have your view on a contrarian perspective from what Sumita just said. Sumita said things about how it started and not the struggle per se, but the path that progressed to what we've reached today. So let's have Joydeep's view on this. Joydeep, are you muted or are you? Yes, now you are audible a little bit.
So I don't have to make a very strong contrarian view. I was just reading a meme a couple of days back. The three most common questions man is asking: when is this pandemic going to end? Am I audible? Is my screen visible?
Although you are struggling, but you are audible, yes.
Yeah.
So what were the three questions that you were reading about? When is this pandemic going to end? When are we going to get back to normal? When am I starting to wear trousers again? We seem to have lost. Right?
So I think I'm back. I guess I'm back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like these, so there are a couple of concerns which emerge. Okay, so I start with the obvious ones. Despite this so-called new, of course, the infrastructure issues. We might have come a 120 kbps. But even in large cities or progressive advanced cities, the infrastructure challenges continue. And so, and if we get into the question, so we are still talking about KIT students who have all all the perks of life, all the gadgets, all the bandwidth availability, where phones are part of their life. And if we get into the question of diversity with the other kind of students in education sector, for them the challenge is even bigger. So that one concern continues to be of infrastructure. I myself am getting disconnected, was disconnected, such a live example. But I have a larger concern around this new normal in education. So I think, a lot of courses around education is about peer learning, about interaction in class. I think I would agree more than anybody else. Where you go and physically hit the students, we don't do that, but sometimes you did. So, which is also part of the learning process. And the camera that you have in class. So I'll just share a couple of examples. I was conducting management development programs for SIDBI this weekend, a couple of Saturdays ago, on topics like conflict management, on negotiation, on topics like building teamwork, teams. So to conduct those kind of sessions without physical presence, without engagements, class activities, role play is very difficult. So I take courses like sales and distribution. So many activities which are part of that learning process, which is almost impossible to replicate it in an online environment, even if the issues are. I think from education perspective, technical subjects like mathematics, engineering are exact decision sciences. +2 is always fine.
Then I understand what you're saying. It is sometimes imperative that we do a brick and mortar, have a should I say physical contact with people. For instance, in a workshop or in a laboratory, whatever experiences you undertake cannot be done over a virtual medium. But having said that, the first point that you made was more significant than the others, and that was availability of resources. We are a country which is still struggling with having resources available to the bottom of the pyramid. And I have had experiences over here in Indore and Bhopal where I have asked students about how the online classes went, and I got some fantastic responses. Sir, मैं on login करने के बाद में अपना फोटो चिपका देता हूँ, and then after that I go away and wash clothes. मम्मी ने बोला है बर्तन धोने के लिए मैं क्लास अटेंड करूं कि बर्तन धोऊं. मतलब these are responses, real live responses that I have received. Then there is another set of people says, अरे हमारे गांव में तो नेटवर्क ही नहीं है. My own servant, who must be making what 15 to 20,000 rupees a month at max. His daughter studies in a good school. He came to me and he said, "Sir, मुझे 12,000 रुपए चाहिए." क्यों? बस दे दो आप. दे दिया. दोपहर को लाके he shows me what he did with the 12,000 rupees. He got a smartphone because his daughter's school had said that we're going to have online classes. Now you understand, here is somebody who is giving away his entire 1 month's salary to buy a smartphone because that's what is a resource required for this. So we have a struggle, we have an issue, but then this is a good alternative to the real thing. And we are struggling with it. We will go with this, and of course we have amongst the faculty, Srikant sir, you are online, you are listening, or you are just sleeping? I think Srikant sir का फोटो ही दिख रहा है मुझे.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. Santanu here. Srikant sir has gone for lunch, sir.
Okay, no problem. That's why I was only seeing his photograph and not him. So never mind. So we have our faculty giving views which are maybe contrary to each other, but they're talking about what the struggles they went through to make this happen. All this happen, which comes like a piece of cake to all the students over here. But in between the students and the faculty, there is one group which I want to address, and that is the research scholars, because you have a much should I say deeper stake in your education. You need to not only be accessing a lot of resources in terms of literature across the world. You need to be discussing with your teachers and your guides, and at the same time you need to be involved. So Dharitri, before you get disconnected from Assam, may we have your view on how you have coped up with the situation that has arisen over the last 4 months?
Thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity to share my views. Before sharing my views, I would like to say that we are very fortunate to have internet facilities and e-learning devices. But what about those who do not have the internet connectivities and e-learning communication tools? And when we search for these type of issues, we found some challenges that are facing by the students living in the rural areas. As per National Sample Survey Report 2017 and 18, 66% of India's population lives in the villages, and only over 15% households have the internet connectivity. And on the other hand, several classes can be a substantial cost for many households, as in a low income bracket, as they are the daily wages workers. And the sudden lockdown has resulted challenges on educational institutions in the rural areas, which are not well funded, and there is a lack of e-learning devices also. And as a result, it becomes a challenge for the examiner and examinee too. And as India is a diverse country with different languages, scattering languages in the e-learning content is also a challenge. So there are some corrective measures also that we can take, like for example, Assam government is taking some measures, like they are offering courses through TV programs like Swayam Prabha and Vishwavidya channels, and they have also joined hands with All India Radio to offer the audio sessions at 5:45 p.m. every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. And also the books and other relevant materials has been distributed in the villages for the students. And media channels are also providing the educational sessions to the students. And to avoid the challenges and challenges of the examiners and examinee, some financial and technical questions should be raised, like how many candidates would be assessed at a time, and is there any physical keyboard required, or touchscreen, only the touchscreen is sufficient, and accordingly the actions will be taken. And there is also a need for online training for the users, as there is some problems in digital literacy. Thank you, sir.
Good. So, how was your experience in the last 4 months?
Sir, I am facing so much difficulty because, as I have said, most of the students have no internet connectivity, and they have not the
Very
devices
nice.
also.
See, because let me, for the sake of all the others on the discussion, let me tell you that Dharitri, while she is a scholar for her PhD program, she's also a teacher in school over there, and she is, I guess, possibly one of the hardest hit people because of this, because she's teaching students in primary and secondary classrooms as a teacher, and that's where the challenge is the biggest, because those are young people whose abilities are a little lower than what we experience with our faculty and our students. So let me now go across the borders and look at, Farooq was telling me, Omar was telling me about some, what should I say, his experiences in Bangladesh. So let's see how the COVID experience in Bangladesh has been. By the way, Bangladesh, have you found a solution to the cure for coronavirus? There was a lot of press about some developments taking there.
Some people are working on it, but they have not found yet the cure, sir.
All right. So you wanted to share something very, very specific. So we all listening to what you're going to say, and let's see how Bangladesh has coped up and what has been the steps taken there, and how you're looking at the future of education, the future of business, the future of interaction in Bangladesh.
Thank you, respected Bajpayee sir. It's an honor to join here in presence of you. So, sir, let me tell you some statistics globally. I have been given with very small amount of time, but I want to summarize my speech here. Like, as of mid-June 2020, globally 1.2 billion learners were affected due to the shutdown of education and institutions in 144 countries. It's an UNESCO data, and Bangladesh is no different, sir. Since 17th of March, the all educational institutions are shut down, and about 36 million students among which 17 million are in primary. They are now out of school, out of physical school. And some online activities are going on, like Bangladesh government has come up with a very innovative solution. They are broadcasting classes for middle schools and primary schools in national television every day. However, sir, the loss of schooling hours is not the only impact from this COVID-19 crisis here. On top of learning, in Bangladesh, given our social and economic conditions, our schools, especially primary, middle schools and high schools, are a vital source of social protection for young nutrition, health as well as psychological support. So as the crisis prolongs, the economic impacts of COVID-19 will have long-term consequences in our country. And to deal with that, to fight with that, there are few matters that are very crucial that I think. First of all, the healthcare protocols that we are now dealing with. And after the shutdown will be lifted for schools, that the healthcare protocols in schools and universities are very critical. We have to ensure that all of our students, they don't drop out, they return to schools or universities. And the supplementary nutrition programs that are running across the country, that should continue in a bigger scale. And the reduction of digital divides is very crucial for in our social, especially for our rural areas, because students now online classes are going. So students are struggling with their internet prices in the remote areas. And so the reduction of digital divides are very crucial, and we are
very significant, very significant input that Omar has brought to surface, that there is still a long way to go to make the world a digital world at the cost of near to nothing. It's still an expensive proposition to afford internet connectivity. Data is still something which is not available to everyone. So having seen Bangladesh, let's go over to Nepal. And Asta, you've had a terrible time. I know you have carried on the coursework of most of your subjects and you've cleared, but you still are struggling with the subject of both the faculty members present on this panel discussion, and that's Subudhi sir and Sumita ma'am. I was aware of that RM is something that you still need to continue with. So in your mind, obviously you were going through the entire chaos of being in a different country, trying to figure out how to manage the rest of the coursework, how to clear. So share with us, what is the new normal as far as you're concerned in Nepal vis-a-vis in India?
First of all, thank you so much, sir. It's such an honor to be here with you all, and I'm full of gratitude. So talking about the issue, it has been a big problem. The pandemic has been a big problem to everyone, and it's same here in Nepal also. Like we have been talking, like we have been hearing our friends say, it's okay. We are, coping on well in the cities, but in the remote areas, it's very difficult. We have seen suicidal cases also. We have had some 5 children literally kill themselves because they did not have technology, they did not have the infrastructure, because they could not afford the infrastructure to study. They had to end their life. So the situation is pretty grave. And another thing is, because I take classes, because I'm into academics, I had taken classes via internet in Zoom previously. It was not a problem. We never thought, taking virtual classes would be a problem, because I was taking classes for bachelor level. But then when it came to teaching school kids, and when it came to, teaching at remote places, at teaching remote school children, it came out as a problem. So this is very problematic, first of all. And the next thing is infrastructure is a big problem in the cities also. Data here is very expensive. In Nepal, in Kathmandu, data is very expensive. So if we have Wi-Fi connection, very good. But the bandwidth fluctuates a lot. It is correlated with the electricity, and electricity again correlates with the weather. So if sometimes the weather is bad, like this is monsoon, so because of the weather, the electricity fluctuates a lot, and because of that reason, we have connectivity issues also. And because of that reason, classes and getting first-hand resources becomes a little difficult also. Talking about RM classes, talking about my studies, I had just one paper. I had to register my topic and then come back, and I thought I would complete my work here, go back, I would commute. But then things did not go as planned, and everyone, normally what happens is if somebody comes to know that I have a paper left, exam is a very big issue, and everybody asks what next, and that gets on to me. It stresses me a lot because I don't know what next. I don't have, I had gone through half of the book that was launched. That was the book of Ma'am and Sir. And I was very much interested to complete it all, but then now I cannot do that because I do not have access to it. So basically what I'm trying to say here is I do not have access to expensive physical books that I want to read, because, reading in a machine is not what I am habituated with. So I have to have the book, I have to feel it, I have to smell it so that I can get it in my head. And that is a big problem.
Wonderfully put, Astha. And it is so important to see that we've seen both Nepal, Bangladesh, Assam, resource-wise, not so well off. These three locations not been hit as hard by the coronavirus as the rest of the world. Hope lies that we shall be behind this very soon. Everybody's giving lots of answers. Somebody says the peak is yet to happen. Someone says you will peak in September. Somebody says it will peak in November. So there is so much data and so much information today on the WhatsApp University that it defies all logic. And if you were to believe everything that is written on the in the WhatsApp chats, you will probably give up and go into a shell and go into a cocoon. So we have eaten all that through technology. Technology has taken you to a level where you're actually talking to each other on a daily basis. You're having family meetings. By family meetings, I mean people in the family living in 10 different locations, and you zoom in every evening at 8 o'clock and you fix a time and everybody comes on and you chat and look at each other, probably more than ever before. But is this going to be the new normal? How many of you, and just raise your hands and I'll get an assessment, how many of you have actually, or your parents have actually insured your household goods? There's some insurance called, other than life insurance, medical insurance, there's a household insurance. How many of us have done it? Not me. Soibar has done it. He's the only one amongst 15 of us who has a household insurance. I have also done it. When मेरे घर में चोरी हुआ, अगले साल मैंने कर दिया फट से. After a theft, the next year I went and got my household goods insured. Second year I paid premium. Third year I said, चोरी तो होता नहीं है, forget it. Now that's the new normal. We human beings are programmed very easily to shift back into comfort zones whenever a pandemic, an episode that occurs passes away. So whether it's an illness, we are very careful. Somebody has upset stomach and he has ulcers in the stomach. The doctor tells him, eat very carefully. But in time, he does that for the next 3 months. After 3 months, he realizes nothing's wrong with me. He goes back to the normal ways. He goes back to eating golgappas and puchkas on Pit Road. So you imagine we are programmed to go back to the existing format. So in that regard, do you think this new normal has permanency or will it shift back? We welcome Kumar sir on the panel, and then I'll throw this question at him directly. Kumar, what do you think? Is this here to stay, or is it a fad for as long as this virus is going to attack us?
Sir, good afternoon. So good to see you. I'm sorry I logged in a bit late. There was a lot of issues with connectivity. So if I look at it from a perspective where I'm involved with respect to industry collaborations, industry placements, till about a month and a half back, things were pretty much in a state of flux, where industry also was not sure as to what next, how it's going to fan out for them for the future. But of late, what we have seen is that even as Bajpai sir said that this is the new normal, industry also has accepted this is the new normal, and things are slowly falling back in place because just to give a perspective in terms of schools of technology, as far as KIT University is concerned, we've started with the hiring process and we've completed more than about 40% of our students are already placed, I would say. In that way, I think students, the corporates, I think people have accepted this as a new normal and a way of living. So slowly, I guess, with automation coming in, with technology coming in, the new normal could be is where we look at technology as something which augments everything that we do. It's more like, sir, if I were to say that there was this ad of SAIL which said there's a bit of steel in everybody's life. I think now the new normal is there's a bit of technology in everybody's life. So we've begun to live with that.
So Kumar feels that we will acquire some of this for permanent life, but may not be all of it. For instance, do you think we will all wear masks for the rest of our lives? Women, sir, please rebel. I mean, you will have, those what are they called, sunburn marks or whatever they call, tanning on the rest of the face, and you will have a face made out there. So it's like crazy here.
Sir, can I just come in here?
Yeah, please.
Can I? Sir, in fact, good that you touched on this. A small anecdote which happened with my wife and daughters also. I think it was just about a few days back. And my wife was putting on a lot of lipstick on her face and getting ready to go out for a small gathering that we had for lunch. And I was just smiling away. And when I was just smiling away, all of a sudden she looked at me and said, "Why are you smiling?" I said, "You know what you're going to do next? You're going to put a mask on top of that. So how does it matter?" But that comes the reply that yes, a mask while traveling, but not where we are going. So I think the women also have learned to accept that as a new normal.
Correct. So handshakes will disappear, and for good measure. Handshakes have always been a source of transmitting information, transmitting data, transmitting infection, transmitting things. So handshakes will disappear and will become more traditionally in the Indian manner of greeting, in the namaskar. And masks like the Jainis wear along all the time to prevent germs getting killed, we will have to do that for some time at least. But I don't think the mask is going to last for long. I don't think if we go back and there is no coronavirus cases in the month of October, then in the month of November, masks will disappear. There would be, but you have to look at how opportunistic man is. The mask, this N95 mask, was not even available in this country. Nobody bothered about, except in some cases, somebody was not well. I mean, he would take a mask. So, हमारे अपने ही पटनायक sir, you know who we are talking about, the Taiwanese Patnaik. So, Patnaik sir had visited Indore with a Taiwanese person, and that guy had a girlfriend in China. So this fellow says, my girlfriend has asked for some masks. In China, they are not available today. So we said, very nice, let's go to Dawa Bazaar. So there's a place called Dawa Bazaar, and I went there with these people and I said, let's ask for masks. So this guy said, yes, masks are available. There are some 30 masks that were available. So he gave them to us, and they were priced at some odd number of 250 rupees or 300 rupees each mask. In the next 3 days, this Taiwanese said, can you send me more? So I contacted that same source and I said, I need more. In 3 days, India had shipped out millions of masks, all that was in stock, and we were dried up with masks. There was a zero inventory of face masks, of sanitizers and everything else that went along with it. On the date the lockdown was introduced. Almost zero. And masks were being sold at 600 rupees. N95 masks, 600 rupees a piece. Today, India has manufacturing capacity and coming out of everybody's pores. We have millions and millions of masks being made. Cottage industry. Every lady which has got time and some resource is stitching masks. They're designer masks. Now there will be masks for every color of shirt. There will be masks. You will get the salwar suit will have the dupatta with an extension of a mask. So you'll do all sorts of funny things, and that's what we are best at. We are best at adaptability. So we've adapted to this new normal very quickly. But then we'll go back. Let's ask these children. Let's ask Avantika. Avantika, what do you think?
Hello, sir. Hello, everyone. Well, sir, as you have already asked us about the new normal which is going to take place and which has already started, what I think is since March 2020, times have changed a lot. So the global pandemic of COVID-19 has affected people's life and across the entire world, be it a professor, a student, a doctor, a normal executive, or any person, everyone has been affected in either way or the other. Well, there are many options or many points on which we can actually talk about today. What I want to specify is on the three main topics which I feel that as a student, because as we all know, as Yamini and Shraddha, they are there. So we have faced a situation of our college life which has had an abrupt ending. So our MBA 1820 batch. So the first experience I want to share on this is the virtual classroom learning. Since we have a KSOM is a very standardized organization, what I think was our classroom lectures as well as our exams were highly organized. We had the platforms like WhatsApp where examinations which occurred. So it was made very flexible so that we had a one-to-one chat or a communication with the invigilators in the respective PRs as well as the students who were answering the exams. Not only this, but the Moodle through which we were answering our exams was very flexible because it had two options. Students like us could answer in handwritten format as well as in a typed format and scan it and upload it. Now, what I think is there is a certain challenge which every one of us faces right now. And what I think as a student, this Moodle, there was, when I had a conversation with many of my batchmates, many of my friends, so some of the
basic problems which were being faced, and one of them was the major one being faced by us was while we were answering in the Moodle, we couldn't identify which of the answers were actually submitted and which were not. When we submitted the answers, the Moodle gave an option that yes, your answers were not submitted. So during that span
So
of time,
you're having a challenge with technology in the beginning.
exactly,
But
exactly.
eventually we managed to iron that out, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We had a challenge,
right.
and if I think, sir, if we had a better communication, whether we could have, if we had a platform where the invigilators could confirm that yes, your answers have been submitted, that could have been a better way. But on the other hand, our classroom lectures were wonderful, and instead of the 90 minutes of classes which we had in the college, we had a 30 minutes or a 40-minute session on the virtual classroom learning, which really made it interesting and one-to-one as well during the pandemic. And I think yes, technology is
We are very fortunate on the panel to have 3 very sincere students. It takes all kinds to make the world, and there are plenty of you who would make excuses and avoid entering a physical class itself. तो इसमें आने में तो उनको मतलब मजा ही आ जाता है. They would come in, log in, and then disappear. So I'm sure there were many of such people, and it's not such a bad deal. But what you have missed out most, of course, you are going through possibly the worst phase in the history of mankind that we are facing today. But having said that, you are going through a very, very privileged time. Yes, you could not have your in-house competitions. Yes, you could not do some of the dance and drama that you wanted to towards the end of your program. You didn't have those, what was that? The welcome, welcome to बाद में होगा ना, welcome to अभी होगा. You didn't have those farewells for each of your batches. I mean, all those fun and frolic was missing from your life. So a lot of you are missing. How are you making up for that lost stuff? How are you keeping the challenge? Yamini, I know that you are doing a lot of work offline, online, and keeping yourself occupied before you join your, when is your joining?
So this is also one of the major concerns. They have delayed it. So they have said we will be doing it by end of the year, but we do not know. We do not have any idea till now. But yes, companies doing their part. They have been continuously communicating us. So the joining dates are not yet clear.
So Yamini, let me tell you, you have been a live wire busybody all along your 2 years or 1.5 years in the School of Management, and before that 4 years in the School of Technology. So you've seen KIIT University inside out. You have done a lot of participation in non-academic activity along with academic stuff. The kind of work, and then I'll come to Shraddha after that, the kind of work that the current batch in the internships is getting to do versus what you did at Havells, or not at Havells, at Pondicherry, where you in Pondicherry. So versus what is being done. Acer, yeah, I know. So what you did with Acer at Pondicherry versus what say Shraddha is doing online. Now, when we will come to Shraddha after that, but you tell me the gap that you see, the difference, and how do you think that the next batch will be able to overcome this shortfall in the internship itself?
Particularly mentioning about the internship thing. So when we were there, there was some excitement that we will be joining this particular company. This is our joining date. This is the place where we are going to work. We were provided with particular desktop and seat station. Everything was given to us. So what they are going to miss particularly is the human touch. So there, everyone were available. So we can go whenever we have some or the other doubts. So I can go and communicate with them. So I knew that when is their availability by seeing or looking, who is the person who's going to help me out and who's not going to help me out. So that thing is going to be a like they won't be having this idea. You can do n number of orientation or induction for the interns or for the employees also. So even when we are going to work now, so currently the situation, if it is going to prevail, so we'll be doing work from home. So in work from home, they'll be making us introduce with the entire team. Suppose I join a team of 25 people, but I do not know that who is the one who is going to support me and what kind of work I'm going to get from the people. So that human touch will be missing. So I have already worked in corporate for 2 years, the BNY Mellon, which you mentioned. So there I was knowing whom to approach in the time of need, but here I do not know how is it going to be virtually possible. And apart from the various activities which I was involved in, academic and non-academic, so I was in finance club and other things which we used to do. So I don't know how this gap is going to be filled, because our faculty themselves have taught us the entire management you are going to learn in the college itself. You will be able to manage this fest, you will be doing this academic activity, you will be doing this conclave, you will be doing everything. So entire management is not in the theories or the classes which you are going to learn, but the day-to-day activities which you are going to do, physical activities.
That is exactly my point, that there was so much outside the class.
So again, this is again a big challenge.
That is going to be a big challenge. So before I come to Shraddha, Shraddha, please take note of a book called Sapiens.
I have it, sir.
You have it? Lovely. Lovely. Now, if you read Sapiens, and for those who have not read, please make sure that you get a copy and read it. Sapiens is a lovely book which traces the history of mankind. And in current parlance, as we encounter this pandemic, which is taking lives left, right, and center across the globe, you will find lots of similarities in different times of evolution of the human race. And Mr. Yannick Noah has very cleverly brought out how the stages of development have taken place. And with every chaos that occurred on the planet, there was development. So this pandemic will lead to development. But will the man change? No. Humankind has survived everything that has been thrown at him ever since he came onto Mother Earth. And there is no reason why we will perish in this one. We will continue. Man will win over the circumstances that are being thrown at him. So before I come back to you with this thought with you, I will ask Shoibal to share his views from a very technical perspective on where does he see the world going in terms of technology. How does he see this thing evolving into the future and taking, see, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, who would have imagined that these kind of things would have existed? So today, what is the game plan? What is it that the technical world, the technology area, the domain that you're in is looking at for the future? What are the developments that are likely to happen? Can we have your views, Soiban?
Sure. Good afternoon, Professor Bajpai. It's good to see you. And good afternoon, others in the panel today. Today's topic on life in a virtual world is pretty relevant, and I'd like to share how effectively, companies like TCS and others are coping with some of the common issues, and how we are facing this new normal while managing the business continuity as well as the employees. Now, as part of this industry and into this education edtech segment, I'll pick up today, three very important areas on how students' journey in education and how technology has aided in the new normal of this not so usual learning. I'm specifically mentioning not so usual, or rather an unusual kind of a learning. See, the three areas that I'm talking about, and I've picked up while listening to the other panelists from Professor Sumita ma'am, and also the other research scholars. Learning is a very, very important area where, with this lockdown due to the COVID-19, business organizations and education institutions have faced real stiff challenges in conducting their regular learning activities. And we've also seen closure of institutions, cancellation or postponement of exams across the globe. So if classrooms have halted, and does it really mean that should education and learning also halt? There's a question, but the answer is obviously not. And therefore, we have seen organizations have come up and education institutions have quickly moved into a video sharing platforms to conduct these virtual classes. But the question is, should we be satisfied by, making an educator sit in front of a educators and the learners to sit in front of each other? Does in a video engagement, does this call as a learning? Now, I think, it doesn't result in an effective way of learning, because we believe it's time that we, come out of these brick and mortar pedagogies that we have seen and get into some unique digital tools that the educators today need in order to, innovate new pedagogies on a digital world. So, with the technology coming in, there are a lot of these digital tools that has been innovative digital tools that have been brought into technology, as well as they have been integrated with this learning environment so that the education is imparted on a very seamless manner. Now, any learning approach today, as such, be it digital or physical, it needs more than just a technical platform or a content to be more effective, basically. See, today I heard some of the students like Avantika talking about when they submit, they don't understand or they don't try to get whether which of the questions or which of the answers have not been submitted. So basically, I'm talking about a platform, where we can do a lot of discussion, where we can have clarification sessions, where you can have reinforcement of learning using defined stimuli, where we practice what we have learned, and how do I assess myself. So as educators, we do understand learning is not a unidimensional process, but rather it's a multi-dimensional process with the right kind of pedagogy. So for classes themselves, we are talking about technology tools where the classes can be scheduled on a touch of a button through an intuitive interface, where we can have interaction between teachers and students and within the students themselves. So that the platform today, it allows the teacher to run a quiz, to run a blog, to give any particular assignments and see how it can track, whether the students have done the assignment. We can have classroom tests, feedback sessions, and of course evaluation. So all these, are tools for the educators, when we are talking of a real effective learning. The second thing that I'm like to, stress upon is the assessment. Today, I do understand it's one of the most intricate issues today with all the learning institutions to really assess online, because you really don't know how do you assess them. Now, technology has come up with remote proctored assessments using artificial intelligence. Now, teachers can also run remotely proctored assessments for high-stake exams, and remote proctored assessment helps in preserving the academic integrity and has also allowed conducting exams with the same quality as in the classroom. So it really enables the institutions to continue admission as well as academic promotion processes by leveraging the machine-first approach. We talk about the machine.
You lost your voice. Soibal, you got muted, it appears.
While the students are taking the exam, all the other applications on the device are forced to. So basically, we impart a...
Sir, should I be calling him and letting him know?
Soibal.
Shraddha, please call him.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sorry for interrupting, and
coming to your live discussion. Welcome, Professor Kumar. Thank you for joining us. Actually, by the time we get connected to Saibal, so just a question from one Mr. Varun Tiwari. Maybe like I thought Professor Kumar can answer better way, and maybe like Professor Bajpai. The question read like this: if someone do any study online certificate course, will it be approved by UGC, CBSE, ICSE? I think he or she might have meant like industry kind of thing. Any information from authority? Let's respond to the question, then Saibal can answer.
Sure, sir. Thank you so very much, Subudhi sir. In fact, to answer this question in terms of whether any certification programs can augment skills of any student right now, definitely yes. If the student is now listening to me, and I wanted to take this opportunity also to say, we talk about automation, but let me also say during the COVID times, it has given us an opportunity to innovate, to look at better technologies. So when I talk about innovation, for instance, at KIT, we've started looking at certifications as one of the verticals. We started looking at developing our own platform and offering it to corporates who want to conduct a test and say, okay, look, we are here to help you out. So talking about certifications per se, during the pandemic times, yes, definitely the more of certifications you have, which corporates will love to lap it up. And I'm sure from the student's own cognitive perspective, from the student's placement perspective, the more of certifications with respect to industry needs present and the future is definitely going to be a big help.
Great, thank you.
If that would answer the question.
Thank you, Professor Kumar.
Absolutely. Thank you
Thanks,
so much. Thanks, Kumar. And Varun, I think your question is answered, but in case you have any doubt, let me put to rest the doubt that if you're thinking that a CBSE approved course or a UGC approved course online you have conducted and you've concluded, it will certainly be given credit and you will get the benefit from that. You know that there are things like MOOCs and others that we've been trying for so many years to establish online courses, and it never took off. MOOCs never took off. Some other attempts by the government of India did not take off. But suddenly on the 20th of March or maybe 16th of March, it just took off, and Zoom provided the platform, and everything is happening. So Manoj Das, Manoj, are you there online? I just saw you. I think
Sir, can I just add on to this point?
Yes.
It just struck me that when we talk about certifications today, I guess it is perhaps something which industries would look forward to. Saibal will agree with me on this, because industries also are trying to look at innovation right now. And they would also like, if, for instance, a company like an IBM has shut down all its offices permanently in a couple of cities and said that you can operate from home. In the process, what they're doing is they're saving on cost, but they're also approaching academia saying that, guys, can you do the training that we used to do for them? Can we shorten that? We've gone across to industries and saying that this is the training that you do for 6 to 8 months. Let's do it for you. Let's shorten that period. And in the process, we work together to look at so UGC, CBSE, I really don't understand the perspective that the student has asked. But from if you're a student of engineering or a student of management, let me also tell you, companies like TCS, Iron, Saibal will agree with me. There's a L&T EduTech, which have been coming forward with more of technology training to be offered to students so that students are more employable right now.
Perfect. And see, Saibal got disconnected or disrupted in the middle of his discourse, but we got the gist from him in the sense that the technical world, the technology space, companies like TCS, IBM, and what have you, are working double time on how to ensure that virtual learning, virtual training, virtual classrooms become as effective as the real thing. The one thing that we've been struggling with, and that's something which will continue to be a struggle, is working from home. And when I say working from home, it's both an academic work as well as the corporate work. We've always thought, for instance, and this is real stuff, huh? So please don't hold me responsible and don't hang me when I say this. But all managements of organizations and companies would, while making the plan, say that for 1 hour of lecture, you're supposed to prepare for 3 hours. We agree to that? But when it comes from working from home, we try to give you work where you don't prepare at all. We assume that you don't have to prepare and you have to work all the time. Now, these are things, these are expectations that need to be balanced between a management and a delivery mechanism. Now, these are things, the more technology inputs that we will get from people like Saibal will make life more and more complicated, more and more demanding, more and more excruciating from the perspective of the inputs that you put in. And we suddenly want a machine which has got an efficiency of greater than 100%. And that's what is happening. Today, it is assumed that since everything is gone normal and virtual, you will have all sorts of high efficiency machines going in place. There is one particular thing, and that's a big challenge. And I want to put it on record over here that if all teaching, all education goes virtual, what will happen to institutions? What will happen to the fees of institutions like KIT or any other, which is a substantial amount and it goes into running of that institute. It goes into paying salaries to faculty. It goes into maintenance of the infrastructure. If everything goes virtual, a student will say, why should I pay 12 lakh rupees to get an MBA from KIT? I can go and get it online from Harvard at 1/10 the cost. This is the next big question. And that is where I will come back and ask you, do you think this kind of new normal is there to stay? Or is it only a stopgap arrangement till the virus is hitting us? Let's throw this open and anyone is free to come in, beginning with Shraddha maybe.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir. I think obviously with time, if we are acquainted to this new normal and if given a chance, we would obviously like to get into different institutions and get their online education. But I also feel the system from their end also will change because not everybody can access access that education. And there will be definitely bias like competitive exams to get into such, to access such education and get into it. But MBA for me will definitely remain a very holistic education which actually needs interaction, physical interaction, and a lot of active participation. Continuing MBA online is actually a challenge, is what I've learned, and there are a lot of hurdles which I face. So and there are a lot of I miss on very valuable times where I think I could have gotten better valuable inputs with the interaction with my professors and my peers and the active participation which I used to do back at college.
Yeah, how would you be even completing a program without being scolded by the director, without being thrown out of class by the teacher, without all those things which are so crucial and critical to development of an MBA student or even an engineering student? And how would you appreciate? Of course, you can still appreciate. You can still appreciate Sumita ma'am's graceful entry into class, her attire that is never repeated, and yet the most elegant. And I mean, these are things all the ladies would agree with, and not only the ladies, even the gentlemen would agree with. So, how would you? Can you even imagine a classroom, virtual classroom? You're looking at her every day, and then see, after a while, when it becomes so boring, she won't change into the fineries every time there is a lecture. She'll continue to wear the same stuff every time. Now, those are the aspects that you're going to miss. And believe me, that's a very, very, very significant part of education. Very significant part of education. When Kumar walks into something, I mean, he has his hair plastered perfectly fine. He's still losing them, but he manages to disguise it. Kumar, just check up what Jaideep is doing. Jaideep is doing something wondrous to his hair. He's getting his hair back. So when
बाल खींच रहे हैं ना आप?
अरे कुमार को तो खींचते हुए 20 साल हो गए, क्या कर रहा है यार?
बाल कहाँ है खींचने के लिए?
आजकल मेरे तो इसलिए हुआ है
वापस आ रहे हैं. चलो गुड. तो नहीं, मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि these are little nuances. I mean, how would you learn from the virtual world? What I mean, I just can't imagine. Shraddha, Avantika, Yamini, you would know, and everybody knows, how many people have I thrown out of class, have I sent back to the hostel to wear proper footwear? Now, those young boys and girls, will they ever get that opportunity? Won't they miss that kind of experience? Now, that's learning, and somehow the virtual world needs to be augmented with that reality, which obviously we're missing. I mean, can you believe this? In Indore, I have my classes have been going on in terms of the colleges that's operating, but I had to join the office work about 3 weeks ago. So for the last 3 weeks, I am in Indore, Bhopal, going back and forth. But can you imagine, for 3 months, I did not wear trousers at all. I was in shorts for an entire 3-month period, because you can't see me on the Zoom classes. I'll wear a proper T-shirt or something like that, and I'll put the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge behind me, because that's all possible. And the fact is that when we live in a virtual world, we live in a make-believe world. We live in a world what we want the others to see. We live in a method which is artificial to a very large extent. But is there a choice? Today, there is no choice, and therefore, we are adopting that world. The words new normal have become new normal. Like Sumita said, they're not new anymore. It's normal. And I'll come back to this again and say that, well, what are we experiencing? Are we experiencing a pandemic? Are we experiencing a virus threat? Or are we experiencing an evolution? It's funny, but there is a crisis where humanity is facing its worst period in history. People are dying. People are falling sick. But what's the outcome? The outcome is that this resilient animal called man is actually finding ways and means how to beat that crisis and come out and go back to what Soival said a while back, that now I'm going to use artificial intelligence to proctor examination and see that you don't cheat. The eyeball movement will be tracked, and an eyeball shift will tell me whether whether the child is focusing on his paper or he has a book next to him from where he's copying. I mean, those kind of things are happening. So this crisis is giving opportunity for development and evolution of scientific knowledge, of the telecom and the IT space of the academic world, learning ways and means on how to deliver. I mean, I don't know how it will happen, but something's going to happen. Electric.
So can I?
Yeah, Kumar.
Sir, in fact, just to take a cue from exactly what you said, that's something which perhaps industry has learned and something that we have also learned. If I were to say sometime back, maybe the likes of an Infosys or a Cognizant or any of these big 4 or 5, when they would come on to hiring on campus, they would say, we want a day 1, we want a day 0, whatever. Today, I think they also are saying, let's look at an alternative way. Can I use a hackathon to pick up people from schools of technology? Can I look at doing a challenge and then throwing it open and then I pick up kids on the elite roles that I want to do? Now, taking a cue from that, the questions that you asked, like I said, the points that you actually talked about using artificial intelligence to have proctored tests or to check whether the eyeball movement of students, something fortunately the students are here, they have not been experienced to that. And that has resulted in a lot of problems for us as evaluators to evaluate them when the answers become similar. But let me tell you, sir, we've had a company which came and did a drive for 2021 for engineering. They had this technology where eyeball movement, the moment they open up another cursor, everything could be tracked and the system automatically logs them off. Now, what we decided was, since we had a platform, I'm not talking about the platform right now here, sir, you would know about it. So we decided we have a platform. Can we not develop a similar program? Can we not innovate, go back to the corporates and say, look, this is what we have created and this is exactly what you guys want. We've started experimenting with that. Believe me, sir, for companies coming to both schools of technology and schools of management, we've had 8 companies which have accepted our technology in terms of ensuring that the tests are completely, it's absolutely free from any kind of copying. The test is more. This is another area where possibly I would love to touch upon. Gone are the days when a company would look at testing them on verbal aptitude, reasoning, and all that stuff. Today, companies are looking at simulation as a model, trying to understand how logical is the student. So when this was discussed, we said, fair enough. Let's discuss out a platform where we use gaming, we use simulation to analyze whether the student is analytical in his thought process or not. So the point that I'm trying to drive in here, both from the student perspective, both from industry perspective, with respect to innovation, things are opening up. So the new normal is not going to be what it was earlier. The new normal is going to be where the student who succeeds is the student who's actually more analytical in terms of his thinking and stands out from the rest. Not everybody has a free ride right now in terms of getting a job. So that's possibly how the new normal is going to look like in the next 6 to 8 months.
So innovation is going to be the key.
Absolutely, sir.
Yes. So and it's now a field day for anybody who wants to contribute, who wants to say anything. Shantanu, I missed on you. I
have a question, sir.
Yeah.
Mainly to Saibal sir, when he was discussing about the eyeball tracking technology. My only concern was, will this technology be that effective that it tracks everything properly and a student is not charged for a mistake he or she hasn't done? And how effective will it be in the future, given the fact that it's an extra burden on the student to manage that situation as well?
You like to take that, Samal?
Okay, I'll take this. See, basically, when we are doing a proctoring, we need to understand what kind of a proctoring that is done. So it's, when I'm talking of an AI, so there are certain algorithms that are being developed, and the machine is also, learning with each of these instances that we feed, okay, by taking various, snapshots. What we do is that, so when you sit in front of the camera, giving an exam, the camera take 5-second snapshots of video of the student. And there are certain algorithms that are being fed, like various movements, various angles of the faces. If there are 2 faces, it gives an alert. So all these kind of algorithms are being fed on the system. And, the system gives an alert. That is one thing. Secondly, there is a human proctoring as well. Apart from the machine proctoring, there is a human proctoring, and the ratio of either 1:15 or 1:20. Now, what happened is that even if, the machine for some reason or the other misses it, the human proctor would also capture that, because it's showing on the screen of all those 15 to 20 faces which the human is also seeing it. Apart from the machine, the proctoring is done. So if I have to answer your question, there are certain messages will be given to the students. Suppose if the students is not visible on the screen, a message will go to the student saying, hey, you are not visible on the screen, please come on the screen. So there will be various messages being given to this student to at least take care of the exam that he or she is giving. So but then if the student doesn't pay heed, yes, then the the proctor takes a decision of whether to take that student out from the exam, or give a intimation to the evaluator saying that this student is doing some kind of a malpractice. So enough time is being given to the student to correct his or her things. Am I able to answer your question?
And of course, another thing that Shraddha, you must remember that when they release any beta version of such technology, and beta is a trial version, when they release a beta version of such technology, it has already gone through 1,000 hours testing, and hundreds and hundreds of cases have been already analyzed. So chances of that error are actually in 1 in a million variety. So just like
yeah, sir, to answer your question, we have already started taking these remote proctored assessments very successfully, and there has been a very good acceptance across the industries, be it for recruitment, be it for academic.
Absolutely.
I think, sir, I'll just bring in here. We have also done the same about a few months back for a company called HighRadius. For those of you who would not know about it, they are present inside our campus. So HighRadius used this technology, and as I will say, there is a human aspect also. So it's a mix of both, which takes a call. So for about 10-15 students, there would be a faculty invigilator also who will be noticing this. So the end of it, it's a call which is taken jointly. But yes, it's a foolproof method, a much better method than the Moodles of the world that we are using right now.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree. Sumita, I will come back now to you and ask you, what do you think is going to be the psychological impact of all this? Where a child is sitting in, inside his house all the time. There is that fear of coronavirus all around him or her. He or she needs to go and wherever needs to go, goes with a mask. There is no physical sport available to them. There is no mixing between friends physically available to them, and there is no classroom available to them. So we are taking away from them a lot of the physical world, and we're giving them an overdose of the virtual world. What is going to be the psychological impact on such a generation, I would say?
Sir, actually, to talk of the psychological impact, yes, there are various kinds of changes which are happening now. My own child is constantly reading through the Zoom. She has some, let us say, 5 to 6 hours of instruction, just like a school, every day on the Zoom. So there is a sense of isolation, definitely, that, I am not there in my class. So all that I can do is to talk through the screen, or max to max talk through the phone chat or whatever. So that's there. I think the only thing that is pulling them together is the hope that this is not going to be the state of affairs for a long, long period of time. And sir, I think, I mean, this is my personal opinion. I think there's nothing wrong in this hope also. With all the talk that is going on, that the pandemic, every pandemic has stayed for a long time, and the COVID-19 is not going to be any different. That is all wonderful, and that is all fine. But, the minute when a teacher says that, the students, this is not going to be the state of affairs for all times to come, this also will end someday. I think the expression on her face, at least I'm able to see her face, I cannot tell about the others, is something to see. So that hope is what is keeping all of us alive, that, this will not last forever. And, when you were talking about the new normal replacing the old normal or whatever, I'm not talking in terms of replacement or thinking in terms of replacement, but what I really would say is, why is there a question of replacing? Why cannot we blend what we have learned so far with what we are learning now? I think that there are advantages to both the sides. And when all of this talk is going on about proctoring, remote proctored tests, the use of AI in evaluation, I think as teachers, at least this is, once again, I'm being personal here in my opinion, that one thing I would definitely understand is the art of setting questions which are truly open book. That means even if you do open a book, you are not going to get anything out of opening that book. We had masters in the craft, people who taught us, who were A-class stars in setting such question papers, where we had taken God knows how many books to the examination hall, but we were never able to open a single one of them. And we used to each time beg them to not give us open book exams, but the traditional. So I think we should also hone that art and craft where, the remote proctor tests can be a possibility. And possibly for the School of Management, I think this whole idea of blended learning will work wonders in the 4th semester, where most of our children have gone on early joining assignments. So part of this can be in the physical class, but part of it can be or should be on the virtual mode, where, let us say 25 to 30% of the class has already joined a company. So these are my takes on the whole idea. So I can't talk much about the psychological impact, because man is a creature of habit. So this is also becoming a habit, kind of a habit, to sit in front of a screen and we are talking. So it's not that we are not talking with one another. So there's some kind of talk that's going on. So after maybe 1 year of this kind of schooling, yes, definitely there's going to be an impact.
I completely buy your point about the blended learning. There should be a mix of everything, and I also agree that it's not about a new normal and an old normal. It's about evolution. So it's about the First World War took place around one pandemic, and after that there was huge development in the area of science, technology, and whatever else. Then the Second War happened, and there was a lot of killing, a lot of people died, and a lot of stuff happened. And then suddenly, after Second World War, the world moved faster than ever before. And every time some calamity takes place, we've seen man coming out of it victorious and always with more energy and more power. Having said that, let me put a few questions which are very general in nature, and we don't talk new normal. We talk about hope. We talk about what we see around, and the current state of affairs in our country. And here are a few proposals that I am making, in the sense that it's a proposition and you want to agree with it or disagree with it. We have close to 5 lakh people, or maybe little over 5 lakh people who've been infected by the virus, out of which 58% have already recovered, and something close to 18,000 people have lost their lives. Now, I'm not going to debate about what is the factual data, what is erroneous data, what is hidden data, but I just want to talk about something else. I want to say that all of us, somewhere or the other, will agree that we have far more numbers of infected people than we have detected, because our testing rates aren't as good as they ought to be, which means that our mortality rate, our fatality rate is even lower. If suppose for every 3 infected people, we only were able to catch 1, and out of every 100, only 3 people died, what it actually means that out of 300 people, 3 people died. That means we just have 1% mortality rate, whereas the rest of the world has above 5 to 6%. Can you do research to figure out why this difference? Why is India, Bangladesh, Nepal, even Pakistan not affected as badly as Spain, France, Germany, England, USA, Argentina, Brazil? My one proposition is that Sumita will go back and talk to Sushrut and ask him whether it has any value in it. I am saying that the BCG injection that we have all been given is irresponsible for retaining our lives. We Indians are not dying because we are all inoculated with BCG when we were 6 days old. You know, even before you get out of hospital, you ensure that the child has a BCG injection done. The example that I was wanting to give was between Spain and Portugal. Spain lost large number of lives. Portugal, which is a neighbor in the Iberian Peninsula, had very limited mortality. Very, very few people died. Portugal follows 100% BCG regime, and Spain does not. So these are little things which people are not very open to talk about, but it gives us a lot of hope. It gives me as an individual a lot of courage to live in this country, to be hopeful. And the other thing that I want to put forward, and it's rather a nasty thing to put. How many of you have had dogs at home? Pets? Nobody. Now, let me tell you a fact about pets. Whenever there is a pandemic amongst pets or an epidemic amongst pets like distemper or any other caries or distemper, all the top breeds, they start to succumb faster. So an Alsatian or a greyhound or a terrier, they will start to drop off the wayside. But my friend Kalu, who roams around in the kid campus with a family which keeps expanding every year, they only die after they are caught by the municipality, put into a van and taken away from here, and they come under a vehicle. They don't die to disease. And my proposal is that we Indians are that mixed breed of human society. We have a combination of the immunity of more than 100 races. And each time we've been invaded by a new invader, a new regime, we have had more and more power, more and more immunity, so that today we come to a condition that none of these things. I remember, how many of you were around when SARS happened in Hong Kong and Singapore? You would remember, Sumita, Kumar, you would also remember, there was once upon a time, Singapore, Soibal, remember? Singapore had become a disaster and nobody was going there. Singapore Airlines planes were flying empty. So Singapore Airlines को किसी manager को बहुत idea आया तगड़ा वाला, and he said 3 days and 3 nights in a 5-star hotel, along with airfare ex-Mumbai and ex-Delhi, return for 7,000 rupees or 8,000 rupees. And lo and behold, the planes were flying chock-a-block full, and not a single Indian died to SARS. We went there, we came back happily, we enjoyed the hospitality of Mr. Singapore Prime Minister, 3 days of good time and came back. Lots of my friends did that. So what I'm trying to say is that whether the world suffers to some extent, we in our country will suffer much lower. We will suffer much lower. But does that mean we should not be careful? Of course we'll be careful. Does that mean we should not go back to the normal? No, we should go back to the normal. Be careful, go back to normal. I would say And what Sumita ma'am just said, that her daughter feels so happy when someone says this is temporary, you will get back to your friends, you will start attending classes, you will have your teachers, everything will happen. So my proposal, and you're free to combat it and free to contradict, is that before the next year is over, before 2021 is over, we would all be back to normal, the good old normal, and with some evolution, and this would all be brilliant memories. Arey, us zamane mein ye hua tha, like that. So, what do you all have to say? Omar, you're smiling at something. I'm sure you're thinking of something. Come on.
Yes, I'm totally agree with you. Like it's giving us some trouble, but in the same time, it's giving us some experiences, some hope, and some new. It's learning us some new way of life, which will help us, or even if we get back into the normal. But the experiences we are having now will definitely help us to cope up our future in a better way.
See, we have played with nature a hell of a lot.
Yes,
we
sir.
keep destroying nature every now and then. So this is nature's little way of giving us a little kick in the back and telling us, hey, behave yourself.
Yes, sir.
What do you say?
Yes, sir. That is what happened with Dhaka actually. Dhaka is one of the most populous city in the world, you know that. So as soon as the shutdown happened, in between 15 days, Dhaka's weather, Dhaka's air, the air pollution has gone down to the normal level. So there are always something that has an opposite good side in every challenges.
Absolutely. The Dhaulagiri mountain range was visible from Amritsar and Jalandhar 2 months after the lockdown happened. In fact, do you know we are losing lesser people to death this free during the coronavirus crisis than before, because the average of 700 odd people dying every day to road accidents wasn't happening. How are you, Sikandar Babu?
सर नमस्ते.
नमस्ते, कैसे हैं?
सर जैसे देख रहे हैं वैसे ही है. सवेरे से सर बैठे हैं, आपको देख रहे हैं.
अरे सुबह से बैठे हैं, आपकी वजह से तो ये चल रहा है. You are the technology support man.
सर एक्चुअली मैं देख रहा हूँ सर का आपका चल रहा है. मैं सोचा कि अंदर में घुस जाऊं एक बार.
बिल्कुल, और कोई तरीका नहीं है.
हाँ सर, थैंक यू सो मच. Can we wind up quickly?
Yeah, I'm sure we can. Anybody has any last comments? Otherwise, we will hand it over to the ceremonies master.
So one last comment. I think the good thing about this entire stuff has been, the good thing about all this has been is that a lot of people who were accustomed to an inertia of rest wala state, courtesy work from home, these guys have moved from an inertia of state, kuch to flux hua hai, inertia of motion pe aa gaye. Gone are the days when we used to look at 3 days mein ek meeting. Today 3 meetings per day has definitely got many people who ideally would say, yaar itna meeting kiya, utna meeting kiya. Today they are being forced to do those meetings, and there is an outcome to every meeting that is happening. I guess that's one good thing that has happened. That's something where, so possibly I think many corporates also say working from home has actually thrown open a lot of opportunities. Things are happening faster, things are happening better. Earlier it was difficult for me and my team to get across to corporates. Today, just a call away, a corporate, yeah, Zoom meeting kar lo na, we'll definitely come across. We are getting results faster. I think that's one good thing that has happened, in this entire pandemic. And perhaps that's going to stay, because once we've taken people out of a comfort zone, we've taken people out from the inertia of state, inertia of rest, and if they continue to be in the inertia of motion, hopefully they should continue. But as Indians, you never know, sir.
The only thing we will kill is the travel industry.
Something. Sir, ये मेरा जूनियर है, आपको याद होगा कि नहीं होगा? ये कुमार.
Srikant sir was my senior in engineering.
फिजिक्स क्लास सर याद आ गया, इनर्शिया को चला गया.
Newton's,
you have rest.
Newton's first law of motion.
Yes, sir.
A body in rectilinear motion or state of rest will remain in its rectilinear motion or state of rest unless a force is acted upon it.
Great.
Sir, ये तो भूल
Pura, sir, 100 out of 100. Definition. Sir,
So,
please.
who wants to say anything? Any last comments?
Madam,
Do
Sumita
we
madam.
have any final round of discussion?
Otherwise, we can hand it over to Shraddha. You are going to close the matters?
Yes, sir.
Subhuti sir, I guess.
Or
Subhuti sir can also join in.
Subhuti sir is not on the panel right now, it seems.
Subhuti sir takes rest.
Yeah. He started at 9 a.m. in the morning.
Sir, 6 a.m.
6 a.m. My God. So, Shraddha, over to you.
Okay, sir. I will formally wrap up this event and thank all the panelists to have given their valuable inputs and made this discussion very enriching. And I also thank all the attendees to have put their questions, and we hope we have answered them as you needed it to be. And I really hope you have got a lot of takeaways from the session and the whole webinar. And we are looking forward to having better versions of it. And there will be a feedback link that will be circulated shortly, where we will be asking you on things we could have improved on and what are the things you liked about the webinar. And thank you so much once again.
Bajpai sir, thank you so very much for coming on. So nice to see you as always. We talked about
sir.
सर जॉय जो बोल रहा है सुमिता मैडम, मैं ऑल ऑफ अस विल एंडोर्स इनर्शिया ऑफ रेस्ट, इनर्शिया ऑफ मोशन तो मैंने बहुत बोल दिया सर. E is equal to MC आपसे मिल गया हम लोग को.
Sir, yes, Jai. Just give me just 1 minute, please.
Oh, lovely. We are good to have Subhuti sir back.
I'm really grateful to you all. Actually, I have no words to praise, thank, the support, help, what I have received from one and all, particularly the young brigade, Shraddha, Yamini, Avantika, Omar. Omar is also very young, and youngest is Jai. So we have got really a lot of appreciation for you. Maybe Srikant sir is thinking of giving a memento whenever situation normalizes. Those who are here at Bhubaneswar will be handing over our memento, and others like will be maybe like taking help of courier. Thanks all for helping me and Srikant sir doing really a very difficult task. We had so many speakers. I think VR1 was most difficult, and we have got 15 resource persons in the invited speech. That was a marathon session, and it went on very well. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for the support.
Thank you, Subhuti sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the beautiful webinar.